clap, and then you're gonna clap when I clap. Okay, ready?
Sounds good.
But for real this time. 1, 2, 3. Did you clap when I clapped?
I couldn't hear you clap at all. Like I didn't hear any, which is So I did 1, 2, 3, then clap, not clapping on 3, right?
Yes, 1, 2, 3, then clap. So we're just gonna assume we did good.
Okay.
All right. So Nick, do you want to go ahead and tell our no listeners what we named our podcast?
We are calling this. Well, I'm actually not exactly clear on that. But which is a great way to start. But this is 2020, the year we started the podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna call it the year we started a podcast. A podcast born from piling rubble, the ashes of 2020.
I'm pretty sure the technical term is dumpster fire.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I might have to Google it afterwards, and we'll cut it out if not. But yeah, that seems right.
With a focus on positivity and trying to find something, trying to find a new focus on non-current events that are always filled with polarizing information and stuff.
And conveniently, the debates have just finished up, so I'm sure we can just start there.
No, I think maybe we should not talk. I'm trying to be less polarizing in my day-to-day.
Okay. No, I think that is kind of my intention is, there's so many things going on right now, and I just, it seems like we're lacking on the time we spend just enjoying the things that we enjoy. And I don't really think there's a whole lot of things that haven't been said about all the things out there right now. And
agreed. If you want current news, information, and commentary, you can inundate yourself in it, right? You can.
Can you roll it back? How did you say that word?
Inundate. Is that wrong?
Inundate. I'm pretty sure it's inundate.
Inundate? Oh my god. Oh man, this is embarrassing. Oh man. Okay, good.
Okay.
I was going to be an English major. At one point in time, I was going to be a writer.
One favor at a time.
Appreciate you.
Before we get too far into it, we should probably introduce ourselves. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Nick.
And we've been friends for over a decade, and this is our podcast. We just wanted a space to talk about the things that are fun and interesting to us. Nick.
Yeah.
I have an opening question.
Do it.
And this is mostly for myself, but also a little bit for our listeners, just to understand how well we know one another. We listen to many of the same podcasts, and I just wanted to know what you thought about my podcast consumption. And I've been listening to the backlog of a particular podcast.
Yeah, I do. Very big backlog.
Yeah, a big backlog, and they don't need any more publicity, so we won't mention who they exactly are. And this will either have one of two results. Either one, you will way underestimate my dedication to the craft of listening to podcasts, or two, you will think very
differently of your habits because this is
yeah. So, of the backlog, how many episodes in do you think I am?
Okay. Are you like 200?
No. Okay, Nick, this matters a lot, and I would hate to end the podcast after only what has it been? By listeners' terms, listeners' terms, 2 minutes. By our time, it's been a good 25.
A different amount. Don't say the number.
Started a few months ago. What number are you thinking on that?
A couple months ago, I don't know. I'm genuinely thinking that you could get like an episode a day. So
okay.
Honestly, maybe more. So that's why I was genuinely saying like 200, maybe like 150, 140.
You really think that of me?
I do. Am I underestimating you?
Do you think you're over or under? What are you taking?
I actually think I'm under. I think I'm under.
No, you're over. Come on, dude.
Okay. Well, I know. I know.
That's like 100 hours.
Like, yeah, it's a lot of hours. I know.
So 150 hours.
Well, what's the actual answer? Give me my actual answer.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. Okay, here.
Hypothetical.
I'm nervous that I'm somehow going to be way farther than I think I am.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I have to get out of my podcast app where I was Googling podcast names to see if we were infringing on anything. All right. I am on episode 91.
91.
Nick. I'm offended. You think I spend that much time?
I think you spend that much time in a car. The question is, are you a degenerate like me who can both fit time in the car and then you're just like sneaking your headphones on every other moment of your day? Or like, oh, I have to let my dog out. That's a whole 3 minutes of podcast listening that I can do.
Yeah. Like, I mean, yes, the trash needs taken out, Nick. And the trash doesn't go quickly.
No,
it's a long walk through the garage.
You really do need some kind of stimulation. What would people do if they didn't have 3 minutes of podcasting?
If I had to take or if I had to take the trash out all by myself with just my own thoughts,
That
can you
really
imagine?
speaks to this really speaks to one. I mean, it's terrifying to be alone with your own thoughts, but it really speaks to how overstimulated we are. That I am 100% on that same wavelength with you, and I already knew I was before it happened. I was like, yeah, of course, I know you do that. It's fine.
A note from the editor here. I'm actually on episode 273 of the Backlog, if you count all the episodes I've listened to. I just happen to be in the mid 90s since starting at episode 1. So I'm probably due a bit of humble pie here, but just don't tell Nick. Anyways, back to the show. Nick, one of the topics that you put into our Google Doc here is a book
Yes.
that I didn't Google because
You wanted to
didn't
talk-
want to spoil anything.
Yes.
But I have literally no basis for what you're
Okay.
going at here. So yeah.
I have done a terrible job of reading during this pandemic, even though we all have more time at home and kind of stationary. I have read one book, and that book we probably should totally talk about because it was really good. It was a young adult book, so it may not have as much to dive into. That book was Patron Saints of Nothing. I think it's a newer book. Both of these are, I think, relatively recent. I think Patron Saints of Nothing came out in like 2018, and Pachinko came out in 2017, Pachinko being the other book. I haven't finished Pachinko, and part of the reason I wanted to talk to you about it is because, one, I think you'd really like it, and two, I want like a motivation to go back and kind of finish it. And there's the peer pressure of like, oh, you're reading it now. Fine.
Okay. Hold on.
Yes.
So first off, before we dive into the book that you haven't finished, apparently, I need to hear the story of what has led to you having this recording be done in a very echoey room. Something about you starting your journey, your political journey. Into
I had
judge. Are you judge now?
No, I'm a jury. I had jury duty the last 2 days, and so the jury duty selection process right now with COVID has been a little bit slowed down because of like the spacing out and admitting people less and admitting less people into things, or admitting people slower, I should say, to keep people spaced out, whatever. So I have only done the jury selection process over 2 incredibly long days, which is impressive. But today we found out at the end of lunch that one of the other jurors' employees has COVID, which is cool. And so it's he owns a small company, I guess, or so he says, and one of his employees has COVID, so he says. My whole family everyone in conjunction asked if he just said that to get out of jury duty, and I think that's pretty good. But
it's a good idea.
Yep. But so I am currently isolating from my wife because I was potentially exposed. The guy thinks that he's like, I don't know, she's my wife's assistant. And I'm like, well, that's pretty close contact for you to be in with it.
Seems like it.
So he's very concerned. The people at the thing were like very concerned. So we are excused from it for the remainder of the weekend. It's Thursday now. We are waiting to see if he tests positive, and we're gonna reconvene on Monday or Tuesday. So that's a fun.
Oh wait, so they put the whole whatever trial
case,
you're part of.
They're delaying the case.
Wow.
Theoretically, if we start over on Monday, I think they can still have all the witnesses by the same time frame, I guess. But so hopefully this just means less time for me in that courtroom area. But yeah.
Okay. So I know you can't. Oh, well, I don't know that you can't. I think that it's not okay to talk about the cases on amateur podcasts. But is the guy guilty? Or girl?
I don't believe it's a guy, I don't believe it's a girl. It's a juror selection process, so they intentionally give you very little information. So they said this person's name, but it's not like a traditional John or anything like that. I think it's I think it's a Vietnamese name. Don't want to like butcher it, but so I couldn't recognize for sure.
Yeah, but please don't try.
But they literally said his name one time, and they said it one time on the opposite side of a room. So I just don't know. I just have no idea.
All right. Well, good luck.
Yeah, it's fun.
To that. All right, back to the book you haven't read.
So Pachinko is a really interesting book. I figured you'd like it because it's exploring like a really interesting space that I think that in most Western media we don't really see. It's exploring Korea and Japan circa like the 1930s and 40s. Primarily, it actually takes place. The story itself is, I won't like spoil too much of it for you, but the story itself is following a South Korean woman who eventually ends up in Japan, but more importantly, it kind of follows her whole life from the prologue is a prelude to her life, and then the book takes off from her as a teenager, and then you follow her into adulthood and onward. But so it's really interesting, one, to see this time frame of culture that we don't see explored. There's a part of Western media and just media in general, I guess, but like especially here in America, that likes to explore ancient Asian cultures, or like pre-industrial or industrial era. They talk about like feudal Japan and whatever else. But I hadn't even thought about, like, I don't even know what South Korea was like in World War II, right? And so exploring
Right.
the dynamics of Korean and Japanese relations in World War II is super interesting to me. Cultural dynamics in that time are super interesting to me, and it's specifically following a woman who's kind of going through this, and she's I guess impoverished, but like it's not. They don't explicitly say that. Yeah, she's impoverished. I don't know why I'm saying that. And I also haven't finished the book. Part of the reason I wanted to talk about this again is so I could have motivation to go back at it with you, because yeah. But it's really interesting because it explores power dynamics between men and women and between the wealthy and the poor, and especially in this time period of a culture that's not really talked about a lot necessarily. So it's like super interesting to me. Raises really interesting questions about power. Like, for the people who are powerful, what is the appropriate use of power, like social power, not like power militaristically or anything, but like social sway for people who are in less fortunate situations. What does
So,
that?
I'm sorry if I missed it. Like, is this autobiographical or is this
No,
like somebody? Okay.
no. So it is fictional.
Okay.
The woman who wrote it, I believe is South, like I think her family's from South Korea, but I don't know that much about the author, so I don't
Okay.
want to misquote or say anything that's not true or misrepresent her or anything like that. I usually do that kind of research about people after I've read the book, so that I don't like let it color me.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's super interesting because there's two men in particular, that have this huge influence on this woman's life, and they both are in just such better social standings and have so much more agency over their lives, and they affect her agency. And like, there's these questions of like, okay, so one of these people is clearly morally bankrupt, so do you like, how much help can you accept from a person who is morally, like you morally
Right.
disagree with that, but also that person can provide you opportunity. And then also, what does that look like? Because usually that means, giving something to that person, whether it's just like social, just giving them socially from like a approval standpoint or something, or time or whatever it may be. So it's super interesting. I haven't read a book that's gotten under my skin as much as this book. I literally took a break from it
Really?
because it was bugging me. I was at a point in time where it was bothering me, but like in that way that you love, where it's like, oh my god, I can't get out of my head how terrible the situation is for this woman. Um,
Yes, we're very good at that these days.
yeah, true. So I stepped away from it.
But so how long have you been? How long has it been on hold
Like a
for you
month.
now?
Like a month.
Okay. Is there do they have an audiobook? Do you know?
I believe so.
As a
I
person with a 70-minute drive.
I do believe so, and it's
Instead.
not like an overwhelmingly long novel. I believe it's like 400 pages,
Oh,
paperback.
okay.
I do believe it has an audiobook. Absolutely fantastic, man. Like,
That might be a good homework assignment
yeah.
then.
I see you have a book on here. Have you actually been reading during the quarantine or no?
I have, like, more so now that I've been driving again, and again just because I spend a lot more, like, the commute downtown here is about 35 minutes compared to my commute downstairs, which is about 35 seconds. So fill a lot of that time with podcasts and audiobooks, and I forgot to even put the book name in the notes here. Hold on, don't mind me. Anyways, the book's called Money: The True Story of a Made Up Thing. That's by Jacob Goldstein. He's one of the co-hosts of the Planet Money podcast.
Okay.
It's just a really interesting look into what money is. It's nonfiction, and I listened to the audiobook. I think it's a super like, if you're going to look for a book to listen to, I think this is an excellent option. And the reason why I say is this guy is a podcaster by trade, and he reads the audiobook himself. but it's so interesting to hear, what money was 100 or 200 years ago, and just the time in history when banks would issue their own currency. Like, so if you just think of every single credit union and bank across the United States, if they all issued their own paper money, how much of a mess that would be to actually try to use that money.
Like, no, you can totally go down the road. Okay, you don't go that far down the road. Crap. Okay, well,
right. And fraud is bad today, but can you imagine if there were thousands of different types of bills?
I can only imagine the exploitative nature of that to certain kind of people too, because imagine a world where there's somebody who's a little bit less educated than you, and then they think that they're really, especially in an old time where a little bit less educated might mean very little education, and you could just pass off whatever. It's oh yeah, this is 100, man, that's good.
Oh, absolutely. And just hearing all the stories about that, I think it feels so foreign to us today, but we're talking about our grandparents' grandparents. It's not something crazy far away.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very, very entertaining, very, very fascinating. And we have our problems today, but it makes you appreciate what we do have.
Yeah, that's been a common theme for me lately with a lot of things like that. If you dive into historical things, especially historical perspectives of even just 100 years ago, I think the average quality of life is so much better.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That's not to say that there's not work to be done or whatever, but
absolutely. But yeah, it's we take a lot of things for granted. That's for sure.
And it's something that's interesting is that I think that there's a lot of machinations of modern life that are taken for granted, and just how complex and difficult to implement they are. I mean, everybody in the world has a cell phone, and everybody in the world has has internet access. Pretty much, not everyone in the world has a cell phone. A lot of people, especially in America here, are lucky enough to have a cell phone, and we have internet access all the hell over. The infrastructure to make that is a wild undertaking, right? And not even just to make it, but to get us to the point where technology is like that. The machinations of money becoming a thing, I've never even given that a second thought, but that's
it's another really quick read or listen, and that's just the tip of the iceberg what I shared. It's super, super interesting just to hear the history of all that.
Very cool. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
So, interesting occurrence here in 2020, kind of the opposite of the 2020 theme.
Very true.
Yeah, so this isn't as unfamiliar for you, Mr.
Spoiled.
California.
I am spoiled as crap in California.
But yeah, both of our teams in our respective favorite sports won championships this year.
Yeah. I'm out west. I'm in SoCal right now, and I grew up in SoCal, and I'm a big Laker fan, and they just got their 17th ring, which is kind of a big thing.
I didn't even know it was 17. Oh my gosh.
So I will say the Celtics fans of the world will tell you it's not 17. They'll tell you it's 12 or something, because they don't count Minneapolis. I don't really know how to feel or care about that. All I know is I had a ton of fun that night. That's all I know. And most of the playoffs, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the bubble. It was a lot of fun to watch. I think I watched more random teams than I typically would.
Definitely.
I mean, I've always kept tabs on how the regular season was going and the playoffs, but especially with the lack of other things going on, and as much as I love the Royals run a few years ago, I'm just not a baseball person.
It's fair.
But no, it was a fun year. A very weird year, obviously.
Yeah, and the playoffs continued that. There was a lot of weirdness in the playoffs because nobody kind of got out that you thought. None of the matchups that you thought were bound to happen happened. I know everybody says I'm just a fan of my sport. I am a huge fan of just good basketball. I have realized the years that a team wins just really hard. I really enjoyed the Warriors. I was living in the Bay when the Warriors were winning, and I really loved Steph Curry, and I still actually love KD's game, which I know hurts you probably, but
I'm sorry, who?
That's a great question. I don't know. He doesn't play anymore. So I loved watching those Warriors, but watching them just steamroll the championships isn't really that fun. So as soon as Bam and Goran Dragic got hurt in the Lakers Heat series, it was a really big bummer for me, and I was like, oh, well, this is gonna be so anticlimactic. And there was an element of that through the games, but as the fourth quarter of Game 6 is winding down, you're like, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, the Lakers are going to win? you freak out and you're in love again, and it's like the most fun thing that can ever happen in sports.
So how many championships have you actually witnessed, you yourself, that you can reasonably remember?
6. So there's been 6 in my lifetime. Yeah. There's been 6 in my lifetime, and to be fair, 3 of them were when I was ages 8 to 10. So they're not like super. They're not fresh in mind or anything like that, right? But
I tried to place those because you're a little baby boy.
Kobe
so
Shaq,
how
those are the Kobe Shaq ones.
Those are Kobe's.
2000 to 2002,
Kobe Shaq.
2001 and 2002 the three-peat. I'm 8 to 10 in that time period, and then Kobe and Pau have back-to-back ones in 2009 and 2010. I actually watched. This is the weirdest thing in the world because you're out in Kansas, and we watched. I don't know if we watched the last game. I don't think we watched Game 7 together. I think I was home by Game 7, but I watched probably Game like 3, 4, 5 or something like that.
Wait, at my house in 2010?
Yeah.
Nick, that is a decade ago and changed.
I know.
Oh my gosh, I had completely 100% forgot that. Until you said that.
Let me tell you, 2010 is my favorite series of all time. There will probably never be anything that is as fun for me as watching that series. So,
and nothing will be as unfun for me as remembering that was a decade ago.
Yeah, and let me give you some commentary on how I watched that. I watched Game 1 of that in Pittsburgh, and I watched I don't think I watched Game 2 in Pittsburgh. I think I actually missed Game 2 and then watched a recording of it, and then I think I watched Game 3, 4, 5 at your place. Game 6 at an airport on a layover that I specifically was okay with because I knew it was going to give me time to watch the game. 0, and then Game 7 at home. Pretty sure.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. So, all right.
Tell me about football. I'm sorry, I've dominated the space.
Be honest. Nope. Be honest. Nick, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did. Did
you cheer for my team?
I cheered for Kansas just for you, man. Yes, sir. Kansas City. I do want to let you know, I watched it. I watched it with one of my oldest friends who is from San Francisco, and I think I literally watched him die inside. It was like you could visibly watch the happiness drain out of him.
Oh,
he's in a jersey, man. He's got the hat, there's balloons around that all have the 49ers stuff.
Oh, no. We lived opposite timelines there because... And honestly, with the Chiefs' run, where every game was a comeback, I was dead on the couch, just a shell of a person.
And then a touchdown,
and then slowly had my soul breathe back into me. And then it was so we did that for our 2 playoff games, and then it was going to be the Super Bowl. And in the back of my head, I'm like, man, either this will be if we have people over. To which we did. Nice. If we have people over, though, again, the same people that we had for every playoff game, it worked out for those. But the stakes are 100-fold now, and either I will be the happiest person crying on the ground, or I will be the saddest person crying on the ground.
And the hard thing is you hope every year that you can actually get to those to the finals. You'd be if you told yourself at the start of the year your team's gonna make the Super Bowl but lose, you'd be like, oh my god, that's amazing. But then once you're
right,
in that
but when you're in it, that's absolutely malarkey.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way. At the end of that game, I was like, okay, well, I'm not sad because we
had a good year.
We made it to the big game.
No,
we had a good year. No, it's freaking ring or bust, and you don't even realize it until you're in it. But as a lifelong Chiefs fan, where I can't. I mean, I lost track after. Yeah, it's hard to say.
That's fair.
All the championships.
Yeah,
but
it's probably a lot, right? Just the number is a lot.
But yeah, the feeling came rushing back when we were finally there again, and yeah, man, I wanted, I knew what we were capable of, but I also, again, not to reuse the same joke, but I also knew what we were capable of, and
that's fair.
And I was so prepared to be disappointed, but then, a little bit of momentum, a little Pat Mahomes magic, and
Pat Mahomes.
And here we are. So
something else.
I tell you what, the thing that I did not anticipate. I mean, I kind of figured it would be the case, but the extent to which I did not anticipate was how much pressure that takes off of the season and how much more I can enjoy football now. Because, to get a fantastic player like Pat Mahomes leading your team on a rookie contract. like the pressure to win a Super Bowl
is big while you have that financial advantage, right? Especially.
It's huge, absolutely huge.
And then there's the pressure of like, well, if we fail over and over again, is this guy gonna just leave?
Right, especially these days. I mean, my gosh, there's the people like Kobe and Brady that stick with their teams for an entire career is unheard of. Well,
fewer and further between.
This year withstanding for or withholding for Brady, but yeah, no, I mean it really is though, and like as a team that hasn't had a lot of success, like it is even that much more pressure, and so to have that weight off our back, and I can tell you what is even crazier is the off season, like the free agency of people like flocking to your team. Like we just signed Le'Veon Bell, who's 2 years ago would have been the biggest free agent signing of the off season, come to us for $1 million a year. Well, for 1 year, that sort of stuff is not the sort of thing I'm used to.
Normal for the Kansas City. That's awesome.
All right, Nick. Let's see. Last thing I think that I would like to go over is a segment that I think I will often participate in. However, I'm going to abstain from this week, but I do want to know, how did you hurt yourself this week?
So I hurt myself. I hurt myself 2 weeks ago, almost 3. But I have been mountain biking a lot more lately, and I have been super diligent about, I'm like, 1, I'm not 16, 2, I have a wife, 3, it is a pandemic. I don't want to go to a hospital if there's a pandemic. Nobody wants to go to a hospital, but you really don't want to go during a pandemic. So I have been super diligent about it. Like I'm gonna skip features that I don't want to do. I'm gonna take every step, or I'm gonna step myself back from the absolute limit of what I could do on the bike. So I, on my birthday no less, went to a bike park with my dad and my brother-in-law, and before they even got there, I was like, I'm gonna go do a warm-up lap, and on a trail I have done 1,000,000 times, and I know well. I say 1,000,000 times. I've done before, and I know well enough, and I know that it is well within my skills. And I hit a jump, and I had never hit this jump the way that I hit it that day, and I just cased the crap out of the jump, like because I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. Went over the bars, which even that wouldn't have been that bad because it's not a steep section, it's not a rocky section, it was a very smooth area. But I just have this special skill for falling in ways that like tweaks my body. Like I'm the guy who like rolls his ankle every time he plays basketball. So I fell and tweaked my arm, and I strained or pulled a muscle in my bicep. So my arm actually felt like totally fine, not doing anything. So there's no soreness, there's no swelling, no bruising, no anything. But I just lost all strength from my bicep. Couldn't lift my arm properly, but I could lift my dog as long as I put all of the weight into my forearms. That's like without pain. Without pain, I could lift my 40-pound dog or 35-pound dog with no pain. But if I tried to lift if I tried to bend my shoulder and lift my arm up, my bicep would just scream. So that's me. I was trying so hard to be calm and good and everything, and then I'm just like, it's an easy jump line. Easy jump. No, down.
Easy jump. My forearms a little bit, underperforming, not really holding their weight. Let's make them.
But
let's sign them up for some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They hadn't been through the ringer. The rest of my body has really taken the abuse, and the forearms have gotten away with very little punishment.
Okay, so I have a bike story. So this is perfect. Not this week that I hurt myself, but this is Jeff hurt himself a long time ago, and it's bike related. So I feel like it's win in Rome. So I would have been probably let's call it 11 or 12. Mm-hmm. So we were out in Colorado. They have mountains there. I don't know if you've heard.
I have.
And my dad and mom had driven us up to the top of a mountain, and me and my brother were going to ride down. He was 18 months or so younger than I am. So
9, 10, something like that.
Yeah, 9, 10. And we were going down the mountain, and we went a long ways, and they were following us behind us in a truck. We were maybe halfway down the trail or so. I heard my brother scream bloody murder. So I stopped, and I turned back around. I looked over my shoulder, and there was my brother screaming. However, he was not screaming because he was slowing down. He was screaming because he was speeding up. and plowed right into me, and sent both of us flying. And I had I landed on my knee, and most of the skin was left behind.
Unfortunately.
So I have a nice little scar on my knee. Then, because I was 11 or 12, so my parents were coming down the mountain after us. They saw the probably spectacular wipeout. I wish we had that on video.
I'm loving the imagery of your parents slowly falling behind their dumb kids getting themselves in trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God.
Yep. And so my brother was a little bit farther down the mountain than I was, and they saw me screaming now in pain as a poor bloodied pulp over there. But they pulled so close to me, I thought they didn't see me and were going to run me over. So I was absolutely screaming bloody murder when they pulled right up to the very edge of where I was.
Just a young man
no!
lying in pain and thinking his parents are about to murder him.
Screw you, brother!
Your brother started it. It's too good. That is quality stuff.
Anyways, didn't go to the doctor or anything because, that's what you do when you're on vacation, I guess, is rub some dirt on it and throw your bike in the back of the truck and then hold a grudge for your brother for, not that I didn't already have one for the other 1,000 things.
It's been about 20 years-ish, right? So.
Yeah, about 20 years. But no, that's my getting hurt on a mountain bike story.
You got to come out west, and then you can get hurt all over again. I can show you how.
So is there I'm not really familiar with mountain biking or biking in general that's not getting hit by your brother. Mm-hmm. Is there courses and stuff where there's
so
different levels of?
So the tricky thing with mountain biking is that everybody thinks they know, but there's a lot of different sub disciplines, and they're all vague, right? So someone might tell you they do a lot of trail riding. Someone might tell you they do cross country riding. Someone might tell you downhill. And somebody might tell you enduro, and unless they're racing, that's just a weird thing to say to somebody else, but they might say it. So the way that riding around here has been working for me, and this is not the only way to do it, just what I have available and what my brother-in-law, friends, and dad do a lot, is trail riding, where most of the trails are basically downhill trails. So slow climb to a top, and then you get onto these downhill trails that are chunky, rocky, have drops, whatever. That's not to say that I'm some crazy, wild Red Bull X Games rider, but the vein of just.
But do you? Yeah, go ahead. But do you ride with a GoPro always?
Of course. How else am I gonna impress the world with my sick skills?
I feel like that would be something I would enjoy. I just need to.
It doesn't have to be gnarly or scary or anything like that. It doesn't have to be, I enjoy stuff that's probably categorized into extreme sports, but I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I just enjoy the aspect of it that's
right. Yeah.
And it's really refreshing in that it is not it's not a strictly competitive thing. I can't be too competitive with it like I would be with most traditional team sports. Because if you try to push yourself too fast, that is
Then it's more than just the bicep.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, it's challenging and skill building, and it's not just, this is not to say that there's not skills involved in road cycling or cross country riding, where people are mostly in it for the fitness and the workout and the, the distances, because there's a lot of skills in that. But it's more, those skills are probably more about endurance skills and pacing yourself and understanding how to manage your body. Whereas this is more the proper way to corner is to shift your weight this way, which is very similar to what we might learn when you're doing team sports, where it's okay, the proper way to shoot a basketball or throw a football is, move your body this way. So it has a lot of that element that a lot of us are probably missing from our childhood days, because you don't usually go out and learn how to throw a spiral at 29. But at the same time, it doesn't have the team sport aspect where you have to have a big group of people to go. I go riding on my own all the time. Yeah,
I know that there's places around here that I can do that. So I don't know. I might have to do that. That seems up the alley of the sort of thing that I would like to do. All right, Nick. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me. We have homework to finish reading or start reading Pachinko. Yes. And maybe we can talk about that next time. I think that'd be fun. Definitely seemed interesting. But yeah, no, this is fun. I enjoyed just talking about things, and especially amidst what the last several months have been. And while we can still actually say this, this is the year that we started a podcast. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Nick.
And thank you for listening. Nick, I'll talk to you next time.